In this next lesson, we're going to be talking about strokes and the strokes palette, and also about a little bit more about transformations. But to do so, we're going to need to go to the Berwick article on pages 4 and 5. And we're just going to kind of slide over. And what we're going to do is, just to this top photo, we're going to apply a stroke to it. Let me center it up first a little bit just so we can see exactly what's going on. And to apply a stroke, you have to make sure that the stroke in the tools palette is in front. You could also put it in front in the swatches palette. Okay, but to deal with strokes, we need to go to the strokes palette. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to 1 point. And it automatically is going to put some sort of stroke over there, and it actually applied exactly what I wanted it to, which is paper color, because what we're doing here is, this is like a simple way to have that photograph with the white border look. So what we're going to do is make a very thick stroke. Why don't I go up to, I don't know, 10, why don't we do 12 points? Okay. So you can see right away, there was at one point a drop shadow applied to this. So you can see how that white border seems to take on this photograph look. It's a very quick and easy way to simulate the bordered photograph. That's simple applying of strokes. Let me go through the palette a little bit. By default, the stroke is aligned to the center of the outside of the frame. You can also change that alignment and put it inside. So that has a slightly different look. So it's actually inside of the frame now, and this is outside of the frame. So you have 3 choices. Usually, most of the time, you're going to use centered, which is the default. Let's take a look at some of the different types of strokes that are available. The default one is just a solid rule that goes all the way around your object, and it's the thickness that whatever you set up in the weight, but there's a whole bunch of other choices. This is a thick kind of look. So you're actually ending up with a stroke that goes over the top of the photograph. Then there's like a space where there's nothing, and then also a second thick stroke. And why don't I just apply the next one, and you're going to see an amazing resemblance to the paragraph rules that we applied earlier. They were actually selected in the paragraph rules dialog box, but all of the possibilities, the whole variety of various kinds of strokes actually came out of the strokes palette. All the ones that are here are available in the rules before and rules after. Okay. Let me just go through a couple of more just so you know what some of these varieties are. There are various kinds of dashed strokes, which you might use in a coupon, which we saw a little bit earlier in our ad. And there's also dots, which is similar to the dashes, only they're round. And then there's a whole bunch of interesting ones which are really different, like wavy is a fun one. So you can create all kinds of looks using the various options available in the strokes palette. Now let me just go back to the solid stroke, and then what I want to do is just go to your hand tool and just grab the page and pull it over. And what I'm going to do is just go to my rectangle tool and drag out a new box. And what I want to do is just go to my direct selection tool, and I want to just click on one of the corners and hit your delete key on your keyboard. And the reason I'm doing this is there are other features, but they really only work when a path is not a closed path where it's totally complete and goes around and joins back to the beginning. The first one is something called cap. And cap is the way a stroke is going to end. Let me apply a stroke to this. If I go up into the swatches palette, I can click on these little arrows and kind of swap the fill for a stroke. So being that there was no stroke, there is now no fill, and the color that was used for fill is now a stroke. And let me make it much thicker so we can see what's going on. And apply various caps. The default one is called a butt cap. It just ends perfectly perpendicular to the last point. Now, if I go to the next one, which is a round cap, I think you can see that it does end rounded. And what's kind of interesting about this is how far out does this little cap extend? The same distance from the path itself to the edge of the stroke that you applied. It's kind of like a radius. I mean, it's the same radius of a circle here as there would be here as there is here. So the distance from here to here is actually 10 points, or half of the 20-point weight. So it helps knowing this kind of stuff when you're trying to use various strokes and have them align. And the next one is actually a projecting cap. Now it's similar to a butt cap, but it projects out, once again, half the width of the stroke. So it's going to go out an additional 10 points in a 20-point weight stroke. Okay, now another thing that works with open paths is you can put various beginnings and endings on your strokes. So if you wanted your stroke to start with an arrow, that's what you would do. And let me just show you something here. I'm going to click on a butt cap because you can see what happened there. Because I was in the projecting cap, the stroke itself was actually going out beyond the arrow. So you have to be really careful of the various selections you make in this palette because you may not immediately notice this on screen, and you'll see it afterwards when you print it out very easily.